Hello, good morning everyone. Today we are going to review the fast impulse setup, a very old setup, and we are going to check how to modify it so the entries are faster and it is easier to configure. This setup was already explained several years ago. If we look at the blog, on the blog in Spanish or in English, we can see the explanation. You can go to the blog and do a search on the search box, and we can see that this setup is composed by two Bollinger Bands. One is slow and the other is fast. Each Bollinger is a simple moving average with two lines above and below which are proportional to the standard deviation. This is because one of the parameters is the number of times that the standard deviation is multiplied. The bigger the number, the bigger the size of the channel. This standard deviation is proportional to the volatility, so the size of the channel is proportional to the volatility. If we place a fast and a slow Bollinger Bands together, at the moment we have one channel going outside of the other, like here. This will be a long signal, and the next signal, a short, will be when the red channel is all below the blue channel, like here. Now the following signal will be a long when the red channel is over the blue, and this is the following long signal. On this example we have a long, a short and a long. This setup is very flexible because we can configure all the settings, the period of the lines and the multiplier of the standard deviation, but we have a lot of variables to configure to optimize the setup. In total we have 4 parameters. If we want to make this faster, we can start by making the size of the fast Bollinger smaller by decreasing the standard deviation multiplier each time the channel goes approaching to a simple moving average. On this example is a simple moving average of 8 bars. And then if we want to make it even faster, we can decrease the period, and the lower the period, the closer the line goes to the price. The extreme case will be when the period is 1. That will be when the price is, when the line is over the close of each bar. On this example we can just remove the line, the extra Bollinger, because the line is just the price, is the close of each bar. And now the setup is when the close of a bar goes outside of the channel. So we have a long signal, a short signal, a long signal, here a short, another short, and here a long. We can optimize the sensibility by making the width or the size of the channel bigger or smaller, but now this setup is much faster than the previous, but we only need 2 parameters to configure this system: the period of the simple moving average and the multiplier of the standard deviation. So for this setup we only need a standard Bollinger. I will use a multiplier of 1, and we look at the close of each bar, and then when it crosses above the upper line we have a long signal. Here we have a close below, so we have a short. Here we have a close above, so we have a long signal. Here we have a close below, so we have a short, and then long. On these bars we don't have a close below the lower line. As we saw in previous videos, this setup can be easily created and automated with markers, because we only need to copy the upper line, copy the price, and then detect the crossovers between them. The same for the shorts. Copy the line and detect the crossover between the line and the price. That will paint signals each time we have a crossover, like here, 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 and so on. For that we have also a custom indicator that has also a little more flexibility, the impulse fast, which is not the same that the standard impulse where we have two Bollingers. This is the impulse fast where we only have one Bollinger with the standard deviation. If we apply with a period of 34 and a standard deviation of 1, as we were using on the previous example, then we can see all the signals that we get if we look at each crossover of the price with the upper line or the lower line. This is the same that we get if we use the markers to create this setup. To filter those signals we have several options. One is making the band wider, so we can increase the standard deviation. If we increase the multiplier of the custom indicator, we can see that we get less signals. And the other option is using a tight configuration, so we get a lot of signals, but only looking at the first per side. So now we get, on this example we have a reversal, but the last signal was a long that reversed the short. An additional note is that if you want to apply a filter, the size of the Bollinger is equal to the standard deviation, and the standard deviation is an indicator that we have on Ninjatrader. We only need to use the same period than the Bollinger. On this example was 34, and this is the number that we are multiplying on the Bollinger. We are using a multiplier of 1, so to the simple moving average we are adding or subtracting this value. When this value is big, when the size of the Bollinger is bigger. When it is small, this means that we have small volatility, like here. Those signals, when the volatility is too slow, should be avoided, so we can apply a filtering where we look a minimum of volatility. Like for example, if we want to get this signal, then we avoid the signals, the fake signals, when the volatility is too low, so when the size of the channel is too small. This is something that we can do with Marker Plus, but today we will focus on just the signals of this setup. For this setup we only need to define the period of a Bollinger and the multiplier of the standard deviation, and also painting only the first signal, not all of them. The best way to test how this works is doing a market replay, and we can automate these signals with markers. So I add marker plus and specify which are the signals that we want to trade. Arrow up in color blue for longs and arrow down in color red for shorts. I will set the replay account, and now we need to specify an ATM. On this example I will use a small ATM with just one contract, a small target with a small stop. The idea is that we cannot avoid to get fake signals, but we need to compensate the fake signals with the good signals profit. If we want to avoid all the fake signals, we can increase the channel size, but the effect is that the good signals will be avoided or delayed. Let's make a market replay, selecting an ATM and enabling both longs and shorts in automatic mode. I will increase the speed so we can see an entire day how it works. Now we are waiting for a long signal, so the bar must close over the upper line.
Target filled.
And now we are waiting for a short when a bar closes below the lower line.
Target filled. Order
now
filled.
we waiting for a long. At some point we will get some reversals. Now if we get a short signal, the trade will be reversed, like on this example. Here we had a long, a short, and then a long.
Order filled.
And each time there is a reversal, we get a small loss.
Filled.
So the idea is to compensate those losses with the profit of the good signals.
Target order filled. Target filled. Order filled. Order filled. Or target order target order filled. Target filled. Order target filled. Order filled. Target filled. Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
This is just a random test. Of course we need to test several ATMs with different targets, stops, trailing stops, and maybe we can also optimize the period of the simple moving average and the standard deviation multiplier. And of course if we have marker plus, we can do some filtering.
Order filled. Target filled. Order filled. Order filled. Target filled.
We are approaching the end of session on crude oil.
Order filled. Order filled.
So we maybe should close in now.
Order filled.
So we can stop after this trade. As we saw, it is not so necessary to avoid fake signals, because even having a lot of reversals we can get a profit, with the compensation of the good trades. This setup is very easy to follow. We only need a Bollinger, and if we want the signals painted, we can use the custom indicator, the impulse fast, and if we want to automate the signals, we can use markers, any version of markers, markers light or markers plus. Of course that if we want to add some filtering, we need the plus version. Hope this video has been useful for you, and if you have any question, please post below the same. See you, bye bye.